part 2 of a very true story. So as time goes by, Thurman convinces me to move everything to the Pickwick house and of mine, and he gets Jim Whitehead, because I think Jim had a truck, or we rented a truck in a U-Haul. I don't know how that went. I do know that we had a truck because when we moved the stuff, my white lacquer tall bar stool, captain's chair bar stool, fell off the back, and obviously somebody picked it up. That goes to my drafting table my dad bought me as we were going over state line into Mississippi. Anyway, he convinced me to move everything to the Pickwick house because he had always kept saying he could retire anytime, and that's where we would live, and he would leave everything to me, and I was like, yeah, sure. And so, he, I guess paid Jim to do it or whatever, and Jim came down and we loaded everything up that I had in that little house by the golf course, and we proceeded to move it out to Pickwick, to the glass house on the lake, and took everything out there, even though we stayed most of the time at the Germantown apartment because he worked in Memphis, but he kept saying he was going to retire, because he could retire at any time, because he'd done all these years in Memphis or something. But the longer he worked, the more retirement he would get and all this kind of crap. So anyway, he always had that talk. So anyway, we took everything out there, and then he decided we would do a remodel on this new house, which was HOA, which that was another big nightmare from hell. And he would build me like a total art room out of the 4-car garages. And we'd just take it all down and carpet it, and maybe put a pool table in there, and then I could do all my art and stuff because he thought that would be great. I could be at home with my daughter and do art, and I could sell it at art festivals or whatever and do the stuff I wanted to do. And I said, well, that's just great, because, you know, I like to work. So anyway, you know, I thought that was really nice of him, you know. And we put a ton of money into that remodel. Got in trouble with HOA because when we closed the 4-car garages off, we had to redo the front of the house and then paint. And they come and they threw a hissy fit about the colors. And we wanted to keep it neutral like the house was, so it was like beige and browns and all that, and like have it matching. And they come out and threw a hissy fit, and we ended up suing them. We sued the HOA. Because it was bull crap. Like, you know, we would have to buy more paint and pay people to do it and all that stuff, and it was going to cost a lot of money, but she'd already dumped a ton of money. As a matter of fact, he picked the carpet out for that room, which I did not like at all, but he liked it because it was top of the line, and it's called Berber carpeting. And Berber carpet lasts a really long time. It's more of a commercial grade carpet. It's a carpet that's kind of a weird colors. It's kind of like gray beige kind of looking, and it doesn't show stains too much. And we didn't have any pets or anything, and it's really used for commercial. It lasts just forever, and but it's extremely expensive. And so had that put in with an extra pad, which is like fish netting. They didn't even use pad like they used to use years ago. And, you know, of course, the floors were concrete originally because it was garage. And so it was really nicely done. Really, really nice. And so I started setting up my stuff so I could do my oil painting and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to do, you know, kids' clothes and stuff, and wanted to sell at the Pickwick Market and that, because that was really neat over there. And then I had all my Wexford crystal collection up there, and my W flatware and all our clothes, everything pretty much was up there. We had some stuff at the Germantown apartment, but not much. Everything was out at Pickwick. My white lacquer waterbed, just all that stuff. But anyway, so, and he already had a china cabinet, so all my Wexford went right in there. It was huge, and it looked really pretty, and, you know, we could eat off it every day, because that's what I did. The house was a really big house. It was a very nice house. It just was in like a little forest, and there weren't many houses back there, and it just had a simple little road going in and going out, and it was fully secured, security gate, all that, and then overlooked the water. And we would look at other houses sometimes that in the area, you know, about possibly purchasing, and it was interesting how the other ones were built and what kind of prices they were looking for there. They were very expensive houses, but anyway, but they were, you know, all quite new. So, and then to get in town was ridiculous. It was like minutes away. You had to have a car. You couldn't walk to anything. And there was the corner store with this guy and his wife that owned that and would run it, and they were very nice to us. And they knew Thurman better than we did. But it was one of those things where I think that they kind of wondered why I was with them. And so, you know, it was kind of a weird scene, I guess. But that's another story for later. But anyway, so we would go out on the weekend. As soon as the weekend hit, we'd hit Pickwick, unless we had something else to do. You know, it was really a lot of fun. The drive out there was just forever. From Germantown even. And sometimes Jim Whitehead would come out and hang with us or whatever, because we had a lot of bedrooms in the house. So, time goes on, and this guy is like buying my daughter like $200 tennis shoes and stuff, and she's just little. She was like 6 or 7 when I left him. She was like 8. And, you know, my friends at work would go, "So how are you doing with Thurman?" You know, and I'm like, I guess okay. I mean, I don't know. Well, then he wanted to marry me. Then he bought me a wedding gown. We had some friends that needed some money, Charlie and his wife, and she had a beautiful wedding gown that would exactly fit me. And they wanted to sell it, and they charged him good money for it, too. And that poor guy died. He died of cancer from eating a fish out of Pickwick Lake, because the paper factory, paper mill, was dumping stuff into the lake, and the fish coming all retarded and backwards and tails inside out and all kinds of weirdness. And they claim it was because of the fish that he was catching all the time for him and his family. And he was real young. He was like 31 and left his wife behind with kids because he got cancer so bad. So we bought that wedding gown from her. And then I had a job offer with his neighbor or friend or something. It was an Elvis impersonator. He wanted me to make his Elvis outfits, which I could do. And then, then Thurman gave me his pinky ring, a beautiful diamond pinky ring. It had huge stones in it, and I used to wear that all the time. That was my engagement ring. And then one time he wanted to trade it off to buy me a new Cadillac. He said, we'll just take it down to that dealer over there and trade it off, and I'll file it on the insurance. I'm like, what? So then, you know, he kept talking. We were going to move totally to the Pickwick house and get out of Germantown and all that. And he kept saying that. And it just kind of never really truly happened. He bought a gun from Jim. Jim was selling stuff off after his wife died. And he couldn't sell her Cadillac. He wouldn't do it because she made him promise he would never get rid of her car. And she used to, when she could walk to the kitchen window to see her Cadillac outside in the drive. And so he couldn't sell her Caddy. But he sold everything else. I ended up with some of her leather jackets, some furniture that they had, a desk that I had until about a year ago, actually, that we had got for my daughter and stuff. And so my friends at work, which is a story I've told before, the Silverado Kid and his wife, that was really interesting. They were very close friends of mine, and I told him, I said, I don't know, he's kind of odd. I said, but, you know, he works a good job, he makes good money, and he's so cool to have all these houses and properties and stuff, and he's getting paid on them and everything, and so, you know, and his vehicle's paid and stuff, and he's, you know, going to retire and all that. I said, but I just don't like the way he spends money. I said, he's always buying my daughter really expensive stuff, like $200 tennis shoes and stuff. First thing Silverado Kid said, he looked at me and said, check her panties. And I'm like, huh? He's like, check her panties, mark my words. And I'm like, I don't understand. He's like, check her panties. So I couldn't figure out what that was supposed to mean. And so, anyway, we were supposed to be married like November. During the time we were together, you know, we went to a flea market, and they had biker clothes and stuff, and they had real pretty black lace up the sides vest, which I had until a few years ago. And it was real pretty. I was just kind of looking at it, and he said, God, I love that. He said, that'll look great on you pregnant. I'm like, huh? And he's like, I told you I want a child. And I told you I would give you $5,000 if you would have a kid. And I'm like, and he's like, we're going to buy that because you can wear that pregnant. Because you can undo the laces on the sides. I was like, so anyway, I got that, and I wore that thing a lot. It was real pretty. And so you paid pretty good money for that, actually. Turn this air on for a minute. So anyway, he gave me a checkbook and said he put me on the account just to sign it. You know, that's just Red Thurman and all that stuff. And he said anytime I wanted to write a check, I could write a check for just whatever. Didn't even have to call him. Gave me a credit card of his, and said to use it whenever I needed to and all that. And I didn't do all that. I would always ask him. I'd always say, hey, is it okay if I, you know, get this or something? And he would say, you know, whatever you want, you know. Or I would just wait till we went shopping, because he liked to sometimes go to the store to get stuff, and if he saw me looking at something or whatever, he'd just go, just buy it. And, or buy 5 of it, you know. And I was like, I don't need 5, just 1. And so we ended up going on some trips, and we went to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. That was a really neat trip. And I wanted to get, we had a waiter that wore the lace up to the knee, up in Gatlinburg, right under the Aubert. There was this really great restaurant. I think it was like a Mexican restaurant or something. And the waiter had long hair, and he had these Indian boots that were knee-high that laced up. And it looked really good. And I said, God, those look so good, I need to get a pair. And I always kind of wanted a pair. And so the guy says, yeah, I really like them. They're super comfortable. I said, well, they look great on you. And so all the time we were on the trip, there's a lot of Indian places around. And all the time we were on the trip, we would stop at shops that had leather and moccasins and stuff like that to see if I could find some. We went to one shop, and I had found a pair of booties in a box and tried them on, and they fit me. I went to take them to the counter, and they said, is this your shoes? I said, no. They said, we don't even sell these shoes. And I said, well, I mean, they were over there. And they were like, no, really, we don't even sell these shoes. We don't even have them here. And I'm like, why? I mean, why do you have a pair of shoes in your store that you don't sell? And I'm trying to buy them. You know? I mean, here's the box. And they were like freaking out. It was the weirdest thing I'd ever been through at a retail store. And so they ended up selling them to me. They just guessed on a price, said, will that be okay? And Thurman was like, we'll pay for it. Hand him a card. So, anyway, and then we looked for, I was looking for a gold necklace, but I wanted a wide, it was the style then. It was real flat. I guess they called it snake chain or something. And it's real flat, and then I wanted a real wide gold one. And those necklaces became the worst, and I think they pretty well stopped making them because they would get kinks in them. And they were ruined once they got kinks in them. Like if you fell asleep in them or something, they would get kink and they were trash. So I think that's why they stopped making them. But anyway, so we would look around different places, and I'd look for that necklace, and I'd see them here and there. And I was trying to get the best price. We went out to Cherokee, and we actually met Buffalo Bob, the guy that used to be on TV, the kids show, and you had to like decipher the smoke signals, which were actually Morse code and all that. This guy was really up there, and he was quite elderly, and he had a teepee in front of one of these gift stores, these tourist gift stores, and it was so cool. I wanted to get my picture with him. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's him. And that was really fun. And then we went and looked in a store up there. They had some beautiful jewelry there, and Terman's like, just buy it. I'm like, no, I just think it's too high. And then I wanted a fringe leather jacket, and I thought he would look great in one too. And we looked around at several shops with those in them and just couldn't find a really, really good price. It was looking more like tourist price. Then we went to the store, and they had a lottery there because it was on the Indian reservation up in Cherokee, and I went and bought a ticket. And then I won. That was really funny. And I won. And Thurman hated that. He was like, I can't believe you're that lucky. I'm like, oh. I bought it like 10 minutes before the drawing or something. And I won a pretty good amount of money. And it was like just under $500 or something. And so, anyway, we left there, went back down to Pigeon Forge and all that, because he had like this thing where he stayed for the week for meetings for the city of Memphis, and the city paid for everybody to go to the hotel, real nice hotel that we stayed in, and then he had to do these meetings and every day, and then, you know, when he come back, we'd go trip around town. I wanted to go see Dolly Parton, Dollyland, you know, Dollywood, whatever it is, but the thing was, it was closed that season or something like that, or it's not open all year round, I don't know. We went up on the Aubert, which is this ride that goes over the city in the sky on a wire. It's like a ski lift kind of looking thing. And they had an arcade up there. And my daughter and I tore that sucker up. We had a picture of her and I holding the tickets all the way across that room up there that we had won. Because we were just, I mean, she and I were really excellent at games. We could really rock the boat. I mean, if it were pinball, just whatever. So, Anyway, we took that ride, got pictures on that ride, which I believe I still have those pictures today. I want to vomit when I look at them. And anyway, we walked all around the streets there, and in Gatlinburg and stuff, and we stood in front of a candy store, watching through the window of this gentleman doing candy, and then went in and talked to him and bought a little bit, and I still know that man today. And he is the owner of the Fudgery Corporation. And that's kind of interesting. I knew that man when my daughter was like 7 years old. My other daughter. And so, you know, it's funny how it played years later, how I you know, I have associated with the gentleman again all these years later. It was really kind of wild. It's all in who you know, I guess, and always make friends every day, because you never know, you might run into them again, and it might be useful. But anyway, so then we went into some underground shops. If you went, the tourist shops on the street level were expensive with tourist prices. So if you want to get a Gatlinburg shirt or whatever like that, you had to go in the downstairs underground shops. They had these underground things where you could go downstairs, and it was a cheaper shop. So this is really comical. Here's a guy here that's just sitting. There's stuff here, and the other guy's trying to get through. What an idiot. It says no parking at the curb, but he's parking there. He's been parked there for a while. And this poor guy's trying to get through. What a dip. So anyway, I can't believe these people still bringing boats out here. Is this going to close pretty soon? Amazing. Now this guy's just going to leave his crap here. Are you stupid? Probably. Gosh. Amazing. So anyway, we had the most outrageous time in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. And, really nice hotel accommodations the city of Memphis paid for, and met some very nice people. And I think I went to one of the conference meetings, or my daughter and I went to one of them, but it was kind of dull. And Thurman was saying that it's really dull, but you know, I gotta go and I get paid for it. Like, okay. So anyway, it looks like somebody's swimming out there in the middle of the bay, but you can't hardly see them. And here's a boat coming. It's a good way to get whacked. Need to stay behind the buoys. But anyway, so these guys gotta be tourists. And this guy's about Snow White to begin with. All he needs is a Fort Walton shirt, and he'll fit right in. Ding, ding, ding. You can tell me that guy's gonna pull over here again when it says no parking at the curb. Yeah, that guy's like North Carolina or something. They won't like it when that cop comes down here. They say they got a young cop down here. It's really a butt. So anyway, that was a really neat trip. And he spared no pennies. You know, we just ate whatever we wanted at any time, and we really enjoyed it. And it was just an incredible trip. So, anyway, we went home after like a week, and I was sad we didn't get to go to Dollywood and all that. And, but we had a really terrific time. Went to some great restaurants and stuff, and really, really enjoyed it. It was really well worth going, I thought. Except for the fact he decided to get out of the car when we were going up to Cherokee and step off into the woods there and pee on a tree. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, it's a natural thing for a man to do. Be in nature. And I said, but that's nasty. You just got out of the car and walked over to the tree and pee. So I didn't like that too good. And little things like that would come up, and it just kind of, I was like, I just don't know. So it gets more interesting as we go along. Catch you on the third vlog. Talk to you guys later.